What is video marketing in SEO? Like, what role does video play if you're trying to do search engine optimization? So I've got a unique perspective because going back a decade ago, in fact, I started my company 14 and a half years ago, and at first my service was custom website design and SEO for websites. But a few years in, so about 10, 11 years ago, I discovered this approach to SEO on YouTube. And so that's a really interesting story. I'm going to share with you what I did, what I discovered, and how well that strategy works. I'm going to teach you all about that strategy and how that strategy works today compared to when I discovered it 10, 11 years ago. So let's dive right in. Okay, so if we rewind back prior to 11 years ago, I had a successful web design service. We would design a custom website for our clients, and I had a website SEO service. We would get these websites ranked on the very top of Google, and it was working, okay? So then one day I noticed something, but let me actually take a step back and explain how we got these pages ranked on the top of Google. I'll just explain what one of these SEO pages looks like. So we had this page that would have a video at the top. It was a YouTube video embedded on the page. We transcribed the content of that video and turned it into an article. So below the video was all this wording, a nice written article. We would create infographics. We'd put those infographics on Pinterest. We would put those infographics linked, from Pinterest onto that web page. We then took that content and did article marketing. We would create spun versions of that article and post it on lots of different article sites and have them all link back to this page. We did blog commenting. We created other link networks and link wheels, a lot of things to boost the credibility of this page. Okay, so a lot of complicated stuff. Now you can just forget everything that I shared. I just wanted to point out that it was a lot of complicated stuff. So then one day I noticed something. I noticed that the YouTube video over on YouTube had gotten 50 times more views than this page we had ranking #1 on Google. And I just like, oh, are you serious? I can just forget all this complicated stuff and just focus on that one piece. I found more and more examples of this, and I eventually just pivoted my whole business. In fact, I shut down my web design service after designing 600 websites for businesses. After getting websites ranked #1, I actually turned off some of the pages that I was ranking for. I used to rank #1 for dentist website design and #1 for accountant website design, but I had to shut those things down. And for the last 10 or 11 years, I focused 100% on this YouTube strategy. In the beginning, after making this discovery, I did a lot of experimenting and I developed a 5-ingredient formula that I've used for the last decade, and it still works today. So let me cover those 5 ingredients. Ingredient #1 is leaf titles. Your episode needs to have a very specific type of title for this to work. So that you know what I'm talking about when I say leaf, whether leaf titles or leaf strategy, let me teach you my tree analogy. Okay, so a tree has this broad trunk that goes out to the branches, that goes out to the leaves. The trunk represents your core area of expertise, whatever you're an expert in. The categories represent all the different categories of things that you're an expert in. So if you had written a book, like the trunk would be the title of the book, but the branches would represent all the different chapters of your book. But what do the leaves represent? The leaves are the most important part. Well, the leaves represent the questions, and specifically the very specific questions that your target audience is asking that you would be the perfect person to answer. Okay, so that's the tree analogy. Let me show you an example. Let's say you are an expert in productivity. Okay, an example of a leaf would be what can increase productivity in a dental office. Or another example, how to improve productivity on a construction site. So that's what I mean by leaf titles. You've got to do the keyword research to find exactly what the questions are that your target audience is asking. Okay, if you've made sure that you've followed that step, ingredient #2 is the length of your video. You want to take 10 to 12 minutes to really give a thorough answer to this question. This isn't a promo video. You're not selling anything during this time, but you're teaching them. You're answering their question. Now you want to make sure that you can keep their attention. Some people on a 10-minute episode, some people will leave right after they click. They're just gone. It wasn't for them. But if people found you through search, most likely they're going to watch that video all the way to the end. And if you look at that average and you have 50% or higher, then YouTube will be more likely to promote your video to more and more of your target audience. So if you do the keyword research right and you find the question that they're asking, that will go a long way and get getting people to watch all the way to the end. There's also some things you can do in the beginning, just statements of curiosity, set some hooks about what's coming in the video and let people know why. Give people a reason, what's in it for them if they watch the full 10-minute episode. All right, ingredient number 4 is custom thumbnails. Now, we go through a lot of effort and energy to create thumbnails that will really create curiosity and get people to want to click on it. Let me show you some examples. So notice in these two examples with Paul Jenkins, one's got red around the text, one's got blue, and there's a significant difference in that click-through rate. We went from 6.6% to 8.3%. So in this case, that means that the blue performed better. I don't know why that is, and that's certainly not the case all the time, but in this case, the blue one performed better. Now, YouTube just launched a new feature in the last couple of months that allows you to do split tests like this. You can upload 2 different thumbnails, and it will then rotate between the 2 different thumbnails each day, and over time, after several weeks, you'll have enough data to know which is the better thumbnail. So that's ingredient number 4, custom thumbnails. Just do your best guess in the beginning, but you can compare 2 different thumbnails and YouTube will let you know which one is the better performer. Ingredient number 5 is to launch 5 episodes per week. Now, there are scenarios where you can launch just 1 episode per week, but if it's possible, I want you to launch 5 episodes per week. That's 260 episodes per year. Now, that sounds crazy, but let you know how I make that realistic. So this is episode 17 that I filmed today. I'm filming 3 more, so I'm going to film a total of 20 episodes today. That's what all of my clients do. We always film 20 episodes in a single day. We begin filming at 9, we finished filming at about 5 p.m., and that means I don't have to do this again for another 4 weeks. So as busy as you are, you can become a daily YouTuber just filming 1 day per month. So why would you want to do that? Why would you want to follow these 5 ingredients, including 5 episodes per week? Well, if you do this for about 4 months, you'll be able to dominate YouTube. Let me show you what domination on YouTube looks like. All right, if I come to the search bar and I paste in the question, what is a short sell versus foreclosure? Oh, wouldn't you know it, Nicole Espinosa. She's a client of mine. She's ranking at the top of YouTube. All right, what if we type in another question? Are fixed indexed annuities a good investment? Oh, wouldn't you know, Stan the Annuity Man is right at the top of YouTube. What if I think of another one? How to get your kids to listen without yelling. Oh, wouldn't you know it? There's Paul Jenkins, Live on Purpose TV, and Nicolene Peck. They're right at the top. There's another one of Paul Jenkins right there. This has actually been one of Paul's top performers. It's got 2.6 million views. Now, that's typically not the case to expect to get millions of views on your videos, but each video will bring in a trickle of traffic and a trickle of lead generation into your business. But you need a lot of them if you want it to add up to a fire hose. So if you launch 5 episodes per week, and you do that week after week after week, after a year, you've done 260 episodes. The results that I've gotten from my clients is we've turned that into a 7-figure revenue stream for their business. Now, we're not talking about ad revenue, but we're talking about this YouTube channel generates leads, and so to these leads, they now make sales, and that's an additional 7 figures of revenue in their business. In fact, one of the channels that I showed you, I won't tell you which one, actually generates 8 figures just from YouTube leads. Let me show you something else, and if this is a little bit complicated or looks a little bit complex, let me make it simple for you. Okay, so this is a spreadsheet that I created for Noelle Randall, and I found these leaf titles. Okay, I grouped them according to their branch. So real estate investor find is the first branch, and that means all of these questions have those 4 words in there. Now, this is a slightly different branch. It's the real estate investor become branch. So I grouped them this way and I showed them to Noelle. And when she looked at them, she saw this first branch and she says, you know what, that's not my target audience. I don't want to dominate YouTube for those questions. But the second one, she says, that is my target audience. I want to rank at the top for every single one of these questions. So we needed to take a look to see where she started. I've been producing her channel since 2020, so about 4 years at this point. This was back in February of this year, 2024. And we typed in each of these questions into YouTube, like I showed you before for those other questions. And for each one of these questions, you see that there's either a yes, there's a starting, or there's a no. So yes means she ranks at the top. Starting means we had to scroll down and we found her in the top 20. And no means she's not in the top 20. So what's interesting is this first branch that she doesn't want to dominate YouTube for, she's actually got a bit of traction. There's several yeses there. For this branch that she wants to dominate, she actually had mostly no's. There's only 2 yeses on this branch. And so we knew that there's an opportunity here. So we got to work filming a lot of these videos. She filmed 5 episodes on this branch in February. She filmed 3 more in March, 3 more in April. And then look at the changes over time. By April 18th, we had turned those 2 yeses into 8 yeses. By May 16th, we even got some more. And by July 3rd of this year, we dominate. I mean, it's majority yeses on this branch. So now, anytime somebody goes to Google or YouTube and they type in this 4-word question, or a question that contains these 4 words, real estate investor become, now they find Noelle. If you'd like to go more in depth on this strategy, I've actually created a mini course. It's called the YouTube Lead Gen Blueprint. You can go to youtubeleadgen.net. The course only costs $17, so you can go and take that course now. You can complete it in a handful of hours. This strategy really works. You can take the course today, film some episodes tonight, post them to YouTube, and you'll begin to see your no's turn into yeses, turn into more yeses, and after just a few months, you will dominate your branch on YouTube. Go to youtubeleadgen.net, $17. I'll see you there.